What up, you guys? I thought since it's still daylight for another hour, I thought you could see the storm behind me if I filmed like this. So I know it's kind of dark, but then you can see lightning and all that. We have flood warnings and tornado warnings. We were up most of the night with alarms going off on the phone. Not we, like as in like there's more than one person in my house, but we as the collective royal, we, my family, my neighbors, all of us here in Middle Tennessee, we were up all night with like the storm alarms going off. So we are kind of back in the same kind of weather today. Just normal for this time of year when it's going hot and cold, hot and cold. We get tornadoes, so I feel good though. I feel like I have this knowing that I will never die in a tornado or a plane crash. I've been in many tornadoes. I've even been in scenarios where, like from the movie Twister, the original, not this new, whatever it is. Like when they're running in the car and like tornadoes are all around them. Like I've even been in those situations. Tornadoes passing over my car on the interstate when everybody's pulled over and they can't see because the rain's so thick. The tornadoes came right up to almost the back of my house last time they came through the East Nashville area, and I was watching the forest behind me and it didn't look like anything was gonna be left standing. And I shit you not, said a little prayer. That tornado jumped over the river to Donaldson. Sorry about anyone else that had to go through it. But on my street, there was not even a trash can turned over. So I was actually up just watching out the window last night, and we didn't get anything too extreme in this part of the neighborhood. So thank you, God, for that. We are here for our weekly romance, oracle, and tarot reading. See what we've got going on in our love life. We had, okay, give your relationship a chance. The achy breaky heart couple. Let's see. Show y'all. This is 90s country right here. Don't tell my heart, my achy breaky heart. This also might be North Florida today, present. Yeah, so if you are not in a partnership, like if you are in a partnership, work on your relationship. I always like to give this bit of wisdom from Kabbalah that if you think that it's just the relationship you're in and you leave that relationship before you have identified and started to work on resolving those issues, both within yourself and within the partnership, then what's going to happen is that assignment is going to follow you to the next relationship. So even though the person may look different, it might seem like a whole different thing, once you settle in, the same problems will start arising in the next relationship if you don't work on resolving them in the current situation that you're in. Now, if you are like in a life-threatening abusive relationship or something like on that level, then you need to get to a safe situation first and foremost. But you won't find that safety if you believe that someone else is gonna save you. Hopefully you can find someone like a family member or someone safe that's not like another romantic partner that you're seeking refuge in. It's best to go for those unconditional love people who won't like hold, strings or, use that, your kind of helplessness for their own power or influence over you, which can happen at times, especially if you are in a vulnerable vibration. It kind of makes you vulnerable for other predatory characters to pretend that they're going to be your savior, but they might turn out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. So that's my advice about if you're in a current relationship with problems, you're not going to escape those problems just by running into another relationship. Now, if you're not in a relationship, give your relationship a chance means that you have this dream in your heart of a vision of love for yourself. And you need to hold steady and fastly to that and not give up on yourself or the love that you know that you deserve and that you feel in your heart is waiting for you. we don't know what God's timing is in our life. And so sometimes we can get discouraged and impatient and just feel lonely, and we want someone there, especially when we're living in times like now where everything is terrifying and difficult, and it feels like we're just in a struggle, and it feels like everything would be better if we just had someone with us. But if it's not the right person, then it becomes worse than if we were alone. So sometimes being single can be a blessing in disguise. If it's better than being in the wrong relationship. It's better than being with someone who makes you unhappy or leaves you feeling just as lonely, even if you were not with that person. You can feel lonely with a room full of people. You can feel lonely within a romantic relationship, and you can feel lonely by yourself. But honestly, most of the time, I don't feel lonely. I do long for a partner, but I'm not so hungry for it, so to speak, that I would settle for someone who is wrong for me. So give your relationship a chance. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on what you know you deserve. Trust that the angels and that God know that exact right person, and they know what that person needs to work on and go through before they're or not perfectly, but before they're ripe and ready for you, just as much as the things that you need to go through and prepare yourself for before you're ripe and ready for them as well. So trust that there is a perfect person for you. They're not going to be a perfect person, but they might be the perfect individual that you need to fully reveal the light of your soul. If you listen to rabbis talk about marriage and relationship, it's not about like being subservient and one being more powerful than the other. They talk about two equals coming together who actually are in opposition a lot of the time, and we're there for each other to be supportive, but also to reflect back like another point of view and the parts of ourselves that maybe need some refinement. So the wife in a Jewish marriage is seen as a positive contender, right? A person that you are sparring with a lot of times that brings out the best in you in the end. It's the evolution, the pressure that you need to evolve. And so too the husband for the woman, so that you are rising above your current self. You're not coddled in it, and you're not having some passive person that just sits by your side forever and just goes along with everything and is submissive. That's not really helpful. You need someone who is your equal, who is standing shoulder to shoulder with you, and you do see eye to eye in a lot of ways, but think of it as like 80-20. You need someone to be that pushback that you need, because we can only grow so much by ourselves. Like, we need that other person that causes us to have to make sacrifices and lay down our soul and let someone else in. Living by myself is great because I don't have to watch what someone else wants to watch. I don't have to cater to anyone else or clean up anybody else's messes. But at the same time, that's not really pushing me outside of my comfort zone to be selfless to a partner. And it's not out of choice. I would love a partner. And we all go through these stages and seasons of being either in relationship or on our own, and they both serve a purpose. So trust that there is divine timing and order, and that just have faith that what is meant for you is already yours, and what is not meant for you will never bring you fulfillment or joy. It will only bring you a sense of excitement and novelty, and once that wears off, it is all chaos from there. I also noticed, the deception card came out again. Last time we had our romantic reading was in our Lunation workshop. So be careful of those who hide behind charisma. So a lot of times people just want your attention. Like, this dude slid into my DMs randomly last week. I think it was because I posted this fun little boomerang of me and I looked particularly cute that day. And so this guy jumps into my DMs and he's like, just hi. That's it. And I was like, okay, I mean, not a lot to work with, but maybe I shouldn't be too quick to judge. Like, let me give him a chance to show some personality. And, I'm giving thoughtful commentary. I'm giving funny. I'm giving, interesting. He's not giving a lot. And in the end, there was something that brought up about authenticity. I said, do you feel at home in Tennessee? Because he wasn't originally from here. And he said, I've been here 6 years. I do love it, but there's room for improvement. He said, I'm working on being more authentic. And I was like, in a way, I'm like, well, kudos to you for recognizing that and working on it. However, it was kind of a red flag to me because I'm like, okay, well, you have to work on being authentic. We're probably not at the same level of our personal development. And as someone who's got to work on their authenticity, it's probably going to be a game player. They're not going to be sincere. They're not going to be real. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to play any of those like usual rules of attraction or any game playing. I'm just going to be authentic and see what happens. And so one night at work, we were taking cover a couple of days ago for a tornado, and we were in the bathroom, and we're kind of having to sit. We're sort of like in like a pause, there's nothing to do, and so I was bored. So I opened social media, and he had messaged me like, "How was your day?" And this guy's giving no fun, nothing interesting. He is so basic, and so I was like, "Well, funny you should ask." We're taking cover in the bathroom right now for the tornadoes. And I said something witty and awesome. And then I was like, how about you? How's yours? And so this was like kind of in the moment. Like I was there available to talk. So I was like, okay, I'll just answer back and see what happens. And I think that he had just messaged me within the last few minutes like that, like, hey, how's your day kind of thing. And I knew, I was like, you know what? He's gonna be, he's just in this for the excitement and a cheap thrill, and he just wants to see if I'll talk to him, and that's gonna be it, and I probably will never hear from him again. Sure enough, that was it. Like, that was the last thing he had to say. It was like, if you just answered this guy in the moment when you got the message, like, it was like, it totally exposed who he really was. And you know what? We had this card last week when he showed up in my messages. And I just laugh because I'm like, oh my God, yeah, keep working on the authenticity. And it's so funny because I made a joke before we got into any kind of conversation. He was like, hi. And I think I said, my first message back to him was, can you confirm you're not a robot? Which I think is hilarious. And at this point, looking back on in hindsight, upon reflection, AI is more thoughtful and interesting and better to talk to. So make the effort was our next card that came up. Great love is worth taking steps that you're guided to take. So making the effort sometimes it means not getting excited about something that's not real. And that actually making the effort means practicing enough restriction where you rule these people out quickly so they're not taking up your time. Because sometimes what happens is if somebody keeps dragging out that conversation, you just sort of get in a habit of looking for this response, and like that becomes like a space filler, and then you get like a habitual like sort of thing going, and it's like this little tiny breadcrumb of what is it like would be not cortisol, what is it, the excitement, the oxytocin, no, not oxytocin because that comes from real bonding, but like whatever chemical just gives you a little bit of excitement that comes from novelty. It's like you start to perceive that as something happening when it really isn't. So it's like you really have to be shrewd and make the effort past your hopes that there's something new happening when it might not be. So don't get caught up in something that is a counterfeit, right? At the same time, make the effort to put yourself out there And like, you know, make the effort to talk to someone to get to a little bit past like the initial, maybe they're just awkward, right? Maybe there's more underneath than meets the eye. So, but your intuition is going to tell you that as you start asking the right questions, or looking actually more, gives you more insight to look for them to ask the right questions. He wasn't asking me any questions about myself at all. He was just like, where are you from? How was your day? That was it. That was the variety of like what the depth of this guy's probing and curiosity and interest in me. So make the effort by looking past your desire to find someone and your initial excitement when you think you've like hooked a fish. Could be a catfish. So make the effort. All right, let's get one more card from the Romance Angels. I'm just feeling, oh, very soon. We've gotten this card a lot. So what happens before you get your ultimate manifestation, you're like put in sort of a testing period where God, the universe, will send you these little not quites that really don't fulfill what you are worthy of, and they don't hit your major values and major compatibility points. And so you're being tested to see if you'll settle for less than what you're worthy of from what you deserve, and you'll settle for less than what you know you value and what you know you need. So it's important before you get into the dating scene to know, okay, what am I looking for? What are my values? What are my deal breakers? What are my non-negotiables? And you really need to stick to those guns. You need to know yourself well enough to know, because I've had plenty of experiences in my past where I turned a blind eye on something and thought I was being too, you know, high and mighty, too strict, or too like setting my expectations too high. And it always ended in chaos. And because it was ultimately something that was a deal breaker, and it was one of those things that didn't make for a healthy relationship. It didn't make for real compatibility. Somebody doesn't have to be exactly like you, but you need to be compatible, and you need to share. I think you need to share beliefs. I've always dated people that didn't have my beliefs, and that was always an issue at some point, like a big issue, even without kids involved. Because the way that I make my choices and the way that I'm guided and directed is very heavily faith-based and very heavily based on my intuition. And people who have no faith and no belief, and they don't have a connection with their own intuition, like won't listen to you, and they'll scoff at it, even though you might be, like me, a prophetic person who sees chaos and problems coming from a mile away. They never listen, and then you have to suffer because they're the fool. So, you know, somebody with your same beliefs, someone that wants what you want with you, someone who wants to try as hard as you do, right? And so, you know, people who have these like, well, I want them to be this tall, and I want them to have this color hair, and they have to look this way. Like, yeah, you do have to be attracted to that person, but those aren't the deal breakers. Those should be the negotiable points. If someone on a soul level meets your requirements and you can still be attracted to them, they don't have to have a certain number in their bank account. They don't have to have a certain height or anything like that. And a lot of people get super caught up on those really superficial details. So be open about the right things, and be a stickler about the right things. So very soon, though, this could be coming very soon. So be careful and be like on the lookout for these tests to come up. So clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now, like we just said. Okay, let's grab a little clarity on give your relationship a chance from feeling alone. So this is feeling isolated and alone. This is 5 of Pentacles. So you kind of feel out in the cold right now. You kind of feel like you're, you know, facing the world all on your own, and the world's on your shoulders. And you're like, oh, if I just had a person in my life. And this is exactly like highlighting what we said about this card. Don't rush into a relationship because you're scared, or because you feel like it would be easier to face all of these challenges with someone with you. Because if you're coming from a place of lack, then you're not going to attract a high vibrational partner. You're going to attract a wolf in sheep's clothing. And that could be on a spectrum of like all kinds of fun chaos to deal with, from menacing too diabolical, but instead wait for the real deal. And for me, what gives me strength when I do feel alone and I do feel afraid is my relationship with God and my prayer practice and studying. Like I've been studying the Bible, that is this really awesome Hebrew transliteration, and it has 3-line segment that has the Hebrew in the Hebrew letters, which are very powerful for your soul to scan that and take that in as spiritual nourishment, and it puts spiritual fortitude and protection around you. And then there's the Hebrew words spelled out phonetically with English letters so you can pronounce them and pray and read aloud the scripture in Aramaic, which is very powerful and protective, and it helps your intentions and your prayers to be protected from any sort of evil interference. And the audit of your angels, like when you're praying, your angels sort of audit your energy and your good deeds and your bad deeds and the negativity that you've created and the positivity that you created. And they sort of, start weighing in on your deservingness, which God and Jesus don't do. But the right way to pray in some scenarios, or a good way to pray, would be to bypass that with the language of the Aramaic language, which the angels and demons can't understand. So just reading the Hebrew out loud gives me a deep sense of strength. And then reading this translation is, I think, has been really nurturing and fulfilling for me. But I have a lot of interest in the scripture, and I think it's really interesting, and it also makes me feel better on days that I feel very alone and very scared. So maybe have your own sort of prayer practice and ritual that'll help you on those days where you feel tempted to give in and settle for less than you deserve. All right, clarity on trust. Win or lose. We got the 5s coming up right now, which is they're cards of conflict, but they are also cards of change, right? Because once we get to the 5s in the suits, we're at the halfway point. We're at the turning point of our growth and evolution. So this is going to be 5 of Swords. So trust that you're not going to put yourself in a lose-lose situation or a win-or-lose situation, or I want to be right so that you will be wrong. So many of the modern day relationships and the ways that we relate to one another in relationship are seated in ego, right? Even just game playing, if your mind isn't in the right place, can be seated in ego and a power struggle. Right. And so that's what I was bypassing by just being authentic and natural with this dude, because he clearly wanted to play games. Now, there's a difference between consciously building attraction. If a female is always available for a man, that he's not attracted and he's not excited by that, because genetically he is prone to want to make an effort and to seek out something that he has to hunt. There's no fun in hunting a moose that walks up onto your porch and is like, here I am, right? As Margarita Nazarenko would point out. So there's a difference though between making the courting phase exciting for one another and being in a power struggle and an ego battle. So you don't want to be in win or lose situations. If you're in a relationship, when you're fighting is good. Arguing is good if you are open to hearing the other person. If you are able to honestly open your heart and try to listen to where they're coming from and try to understand rather than be understood. Communication is valuable and needed in these situations, and you need to air your grievances. You need to be honest, right? You can't trust someone who goes around and holds everything in for the sake of maintaining the peace, because there's not real harmony there either. But there is a good way to fight. You can fight clean and fight for your relationship, not against one another. The deception card is here, and it is clarified by the Chariot card. And I think this is saying, like, identify what's real and what's not and move on fast. Like, identify quickly who is a yay and who is a nay, and then keep on moving. That's the fastest way to get to what you actually want and to what is real and what is good for you, right? We want a balance. We need a balance of give and take, and we need to practice discipline and restriction as well as being open and sincere. You need to rein that in balance and in incrementally for where you are. A person who just opens up right away to someone, starts oversharing, starts pouring themselves out to someone who hasn't earned that is like, it's gonna turn them off. It's gonna push them away. So we have to establish a balance of give and take, of being vulnerable and holding things back and releasing that in good time. And then also in the pace that we're moving forward, right? It kind of falls on the feminine in a relationship to pull the reins and slow down the progression, because the masculine always gets excited. They want to move forward fast. They want to consume all your energy and all your attention until it comes to a halting stop when they're like, oh, everything happened so fast. I didn't mean to get this carried away. And then they feel trapped and suffocated, and it's basically all they're doing. But the feminine, even if you're in the same sex situation, the more feminine person has to be the one to say, slow down, we're taking this slowly. You have to earn me. You have to earn my time. You have to earn my devotion and commitment. We're going to do this slow and steady, because then that gives them a feeling of not being fully satiated, and then they want more, and then they want more, but they're not overstuffed. They're not over full. They're not like, oh, I need my space. But what happens is when you move really quick without that restriction, then they get to a point where they're like, oh, I need my space. I need to take time. I'm panicked. This is going faster than I intended. It's getting so serious and I didn't mean for it to, kind of thing. So it never fails. So discipline and restriction whilst still being open and willing. You have to balance the pace, balance your openness with your mystery. Okay, so make the effort. We've got third eye chakra. So this is your inner vision, your vision of love, so to speak. But you will be able to know, like, if you commit to like tuning into your inner guidance and your inner wisdom, your visions, your dreams will reveal someone's true nature. Your soul will reveal to you, but you have to listen to that voice within. You have to listen to that inner knowing. So making the effort many times means walking away from something that you know isn't right. And then our last card, believe and succeed. This is 6 of Wands. So very soon we will be successful in finding the love that we have been looking for and the love that is right for us. But first we have to make the effort to say no to what is not right for us. And we have to make the effort to be able to have the wisdom and discernment to be able to identify when someone is and is not right. It's not always that they're going to be like this narcissistic villain. Sometimes it's a great person, but they're just not in alignment with your path, or they don't share the same values. They may not share the same like lifestyle desires and things like that. So sometimes you've got to let good people go. And in order to really be fully available for that right one to come in, you can't keep people on the back burner, and you can't keep people in your little fantasy bank. You have to cut ties and cut the cords and clear the decks for that real, true love to come in. All right, we're going to end it there. 29 minutes, not too bad, not too shabby. All right, love y'all so much, and we will be back together tomorrow for our weekend reflection message. I am working tomorrow night, so it'll be a late one when I come in and film our video, so you may not see it until like late Friday night, like late, or Saturday morning. So if not, you probably have other videos to catch up on if you're looking for something to do, or you're bored, or you're feeling like you need some encouragement. Which reminds me, if you want more content, then I have the 2025 prediction series available. You can follow the link to my Stan store in the description box below. You will have a over 12 hours of content around the prediction of the flow of our themes and lessons and challenges and opportunities for the year in our yearly overview. I did readings over each season of the year. And then I did monthly readings for you guys. And with each one of the readings, they come with a set of journal questions in the description box underneath the video that will help you like go deeper into your own inner process and help you work through and prepare for upcoming opportunities and challenges, as well as like workshop the issues that are coming up for you in your life in the moment. So that is only $10. It's a one-time purchase. It's not a subscription. So I now have integrated Stripe, and you can use PayPal also if you don't want to use your credit card. All right, you guys, or debit or whatever. You know what I mean. See y'all on the next one. Peace.